During the 1960s, Disney fantasy seemed to completely dominate the big screen, yet behind all the bright Technicolor charm, Hollywood itself was quietly transforming. The industry was split between old traditions and bold new ideas, between fairy tale comfort and a growing push toward realism. Right in the middle of that creative clash arrived Mary Poppins, a film that reshaped what people even thought Disney magic could be. It was far more than a simple children's picture. It became a daring blend of musical spectacle, fantasy storytelling, and live-action cartoon filmmaking, mixing new technology with some of the most turbulent behind-the-scenes conflict Disney had ever faced. Publicly, the film appeared flawless and joyful, yet beneath the cheerful songs and smiling faces were intense creative battles, technical disasters, painful accidents, and one deeply angry author who believed Walt Disney had damaged her treasured creation. This is Vintverse, and these are 20 strange facts that reveal how Disney's most enchanting film also became one of its most unusual productions. The saga truly began decades earlier, not in a studio office but in a family home, when Disney read the books of P.L. Travers to his daughters during the 1940s and promised he would someday bring the character to the screen. Unfortunately for him, the author openly despised Hollywood. For nearly 20 years, Disney chased the rights through letters, phone calls, and generous offers, all of which were rejected. Travers feared her strict, unsentimental nanny would be turned into a sugary cartoon. Eventually, in 1961, after constant pressure and an offer she could not refuse, she agreed to sell the rights, yet she never stopped fighting. From the moment the contract was signed, she launched a campaign of endless complaints, notes, and demands. What followed was not creative harmony, but open warfare. When the premiere finally arrived, spotlights filled Hollywood Boulevard and famous guests poured into the theater. Yet the woman who had created Mary Poppins was not even invited and had to beg for a ticket to see her own story on screen. As the film played, she grew increasingly distressed. The light-hearted mood, the playful music, and the animated penguins felt like an unforgivable betrayal to her. After the screening, she confronted Disney at the party and demanded that the animated scenes be removed. His reply was simple and final. "Pamela, the ship has sailed." She left deeply humiliated and later refused to allow any further American adaptations of her books. Her anger toward the film lasted for the rest of her life. To Disney, the movie was a triumph. To Travers, it was a personal disaster. Ironically, the actress now inseparable from the role, Julie Andrews, almost never became the famous nanny. At the time, she was pursuing another ambition, hoping to appear as Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. When that part went instead to Audrey Hepburn, Disney quickly offered Andrews the lead in Mary Poppins. The twist came at the 1965 Academy Awards, when Andrews won Best Actress for her performance, defeating the very film that had taken her original dream. What seemed like a gentle victory became a moment of poetic revenge. Another legendary element of the film is the famously criticized accent of Dick Van Dyke. Set in Edwardian London, at least in Disney's imaginative version, Bert dances across rooftops speaking what was meant to be a Cockney accent. To British audiences, it sounded completely wrong and barely recognizable. Van Dyke later admitted he had no dialect coach and relied only on his own guesswork. The result became notorious, frequently labeled the worst British accent ever recorded in a major film. Years later, he publicly apologized, joking that his voice sounded about as British as a cheeseburger. Despite this, audiences continued to adore his performance. Many viewers never realized that the cheerful chimney sweep and the fragile, elderly banker, Mr. Daw Sr., were actually played by the same actor. Hidden beneath heavy makeup, false whiskers, and layers of latex, Van Dyke transformed himself into the 100-year-old character and enjoyed the challenge so much that he personally asked Disney for the opportunity. Disney agreed, but only if the secret was kept. In the credits, the banker's role was listed under a strange invented name that confused audiences for years. One of the film's most famous moments, when Mary, Bert, and the children leap into a chalk drawing and dance alongside animated penguins, nearly split the production apart. Travers strongly opposed animation and pleaded with Disney to remove the sequence, calling it tasteless and disrespectful to her books. Disney refused to back down, believing the scene would define the entire movie. Technically, it was extremely demanding. Performers worked against empty white sets while animators later created every line, movement and penguin frame by frame. Travers was appalled. Disney was delighted and audiences were completely enchanted. In time, the sequence became celebrated as a groundbreaking achievement that was far ahead of its era. The author's resistance did not stop there. During production, she delivered a brutal 40-page memo filled with unusual requests and harsh criticism. She wanted Mary to appear stricter and less charming, banned smiling and winking, tried to remove the word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which she considered childish nonsense, and even objected to certain costume colors, particularly red, claiming they did not belong in Mary's world. Nearly all of her instructions were ignored, and with every rejection her bitterness deepened. When she finally saw the completed film, she cried not from happiness but from rage, later saying that her character had been turned into a clown. The joyful rooftop dance number Step in Time hides a far darker reality behind its cheerful rhythm. The complicated choreography involved moving scenery, swinging ropes and sharply angled rooftops coated in soot. During one take, a stuntman missed his mark and plunged roughly 20 feet into equipment below, suffering several broken ribs. Filming paused only briefly before continuing with a replacement performer. A short stumble from the accident remained in the final cut, visible to this day. The illusion of carefree family entertainment masked very real danger. Even the famous talking umbrella carried its own unsettling story. The parrot-headed prop was created using taxidermy techniques, with eyes and a beak modeled on a real bird to achieve a disturbingly lifelike look. Andrews herself said it felt uncomfortable, like holding a dead animal that might suddenly speak. When the mechanical beak snapped open and the glassy eyes moved, the effect felt eerie to the crew, some of whom joked that it seemed to watch them between takes. The premiere night itself became another quiet scandal. Although crowds filled Hollywood Boulevard and children waved balloons beneath flashing cameras, the author again felt excluded. She entered the theater dressed in black, sat rigidly through the applause and laughter, and afterward once more confronted Disney, insisting that the animated scenes be removed. He calmly repeated that it was too late to change anything. She left humiliated and swore that Hollywood would never again adapt Mary Poppins, a promise she maintained even after her death. Behind the bright painted London skyline, the rooftop set was dangerously unstable. Elevated platforms, slippery surfaces and thick smoke made from dust and chemicals irritated actors' eyes and throats. The black soot applied to performers' faces, made from graphite and oil, caused rashes and discomfort. Several dancers slipped, and one narrowly avoided serious injury thanks only to a concealed crash mat. Cast members jokingly renamed the number Step in Time or Die in Time, but everyone understood how close the production came to disaster. And finally, even Walt Disney's personal favorite song from the film carried a quiet sadness. Ask most people about their favorite Mary Poppins tune and they will instantly answer, supercalifragilistic, unaware that behind the playful magic, this extraordinary production was shaped by conflict, frustration and heartbreak as much as by imagination and wonder. Famous tunes like Spalladocious or Chim Chim Cherie may be the best known, but the song closest to Walt Disney's heart was a soft and almost unnoticed ballad called Feed the Birds. Every Friday afternoon, he would invite the Sherman Brothers, the film songwriters, into his office and, without offering any reason, ask them to perform it. While the gentle music played, Walt would stand quietly at his window, gazing toward Sleeping Beauty's castle with a distant, thoughtful look, later calling the song the very heart of everything the studio created and saying that its message about kindness to even the smallest creatures represented his true vision. Yet the story carries a darker tone, because the song was played for him one final time on the Friday before his death, and some claim its melody drifted through the studio that day, like a soft goodbye from the man who built a world of dreams. Number 8, The Magic That Broke Bones. One of the film's most unforgettable images shows Mary Poppins rising into the sky, umbrella in hand, floating gracefully above London. But the illusion of safety hid a dangerous reality. as Julie Andrews performed many of her own wire stunts, and one almost ended in disaster when a rigging failure dropped her several feet and slammed her onto the stage floor, sending the crew rushing to her in fear, until she stood up shaken and angry and, in her characteristically polite manner, warned she would quit if it ever happened again. Number 7. The unsettling reputation of the parrot umbrella. Mary's umbrella was more than a simple prop. It behaved like a character, with its parrot head delivering sarcastic remarks, scolding the children and rolling its eyes. But behind the playful design was something disturbing, because the head was created using taxidermy techniques, with glass eyes modeled after a real bird, making it neither computer-generated nor charming when seen up close. And Julie Andrews reportedly disliked holding it between takes, saying it felt far too real, as though it were watching her. Over time, Disney archivists began sharing eerie stories, claiming the umbrella seemed to follow people, its eyes shifting when no one was looking, or making faint mechanical clicks in storage despite not being operated for years. And whether it is only aging machinery or something more, the prop is now kept locked away and rarely shown to the public. Number 6. The song that haunted Walt Disney. Although Mary Poppins is remembered for cheerful numbers like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and Chin Chim Tree, Walt's personal favorite remained Feed the Birds, a gentle and melancholy lullaby about kindness and fleeting moments. And each Friday he would again invite the Sherman brothers to quietly perform it while he stared out his office window toward Sleeping Beauty Castle, repeating that it was the heart of everything they did. Number 5. The chalk world that became a nightmare to film. The chalk painting sequence appears effortless as Mary, Bert and the children jump into a pastel fantasy and dance with penguins, yet it was one of the most exhausting productions in Disney history, with actors performing on empty white sets, smiling and dancing toward spaces where drawings would later be added, guided only by tape marks and whispered counts from off-camera assistants. And although the scene lasts only minutes on screen, it required months of animation and compositing that drained the crew, while the most unusual difficulty was emotional, since P.L. Travers despised the animated elements and called the chalk sequence a grotesque vandalism of her books, and according to Disney archivists, one of her production memos contained the strange warning, "Erase the chalk before it erases you." Number 4. The Forgotten Curse of Mr. Daw Sr. The banker, portrayed in heavy makeup by Dick Van Dyke, dies laughing in the film's climax in a moment meant to feel warm and amusing, but only days after filming, one of the elderly extras playing his colleagues collapsed on set, reportedly overwhelmed by the heat of the makeup and heavy wool costumes, and later died, prompting whispers among the crew. Then further accidents followed, including a set painter falling from scaffolding and another crew member breaking an arm during rooftop rehearsals, causing talk of a Poppins curse tied to the banker's death scene. And although Disney never confirmed such rumors, several props from the bank set, including Daw Sr.'s cane, were quietly removed and stored deep in the archives. Number 3. The umbrella that nearly cost Julie Andrews her eye. The parrot-headed umbrella, already infamous for its unsettling realism created through taxidermy methods, became dangerous during filming when its internal mechanism jammed and suddenly snapped upward as Andrews raised it for a line, narrowly missing her eye and sending frightened crew members running to her side. And although she later laughed about it in interviews, people on set continued whispering that the prop moved on its own in storage, making tiny shifts and clicking sounds even while unplugged, and one archivist claimed its eyes followed him down a hallway during late-night cataloging, which is why the umbrella remains locked away in Disney's vault, rarely displayed. And when it is shown, staff describe a heavy, uneasy feeling in the room, as though Mary Poppins herself were watching through its glass eyes. Number 2. Travers's Revenge Beyond the Grave. Travers's hatred of the Disney adaptation became legendary, but her resistance continued after her death, because her will included a strict rule that no American writer could adapt Mary Poppins again, preventing Disney from revisiting the story for more than 50 years, and even after she died in 1996. Her estate enforced the restriction with near religious intensity, closely examining every proposed project for American influence. So when Mary Poppins Returns finally appeared in 2018, the studio had to work beneath her lingering shadow, and fans noticed that the sequel felt darker and more subdued, closer in tone to Travers's original books than to Disney's classic film. Number 1. Walt Disney's Final Whisper. The strangest story connected to Mary Poppins is not about cursed props or accidents, but about Walt himself, who, in his final days while seriously ill in a hospital bed, was said to repeatedly murmur the same words, feed the birds, which nurses believed to be delirium but studio insiders recognized as a reference to his favorite song, the one he called the heart of everything they did, and asked the Sherman Brothers to perform for him. Every Friday, the last time being only days before his death, and the legend grows colder with claims that after he passed away, employees working late at the studio heard faint piano notes and soft humming echoing through empty halls on Friday evenings despite security logs showing no one present, and even today, Disney archivists whisper about that melody drifting through the Burbank lot when the lights go out, leaving the question of whether it is only memory, a myth, or something far stranger, the lingering echo of a man who created a kingdom of dreams. This is Ventverse, where nostalgia hides secrets and magic always carries a price. So which of these strange stories shocked you most? And do you believe Mary Poppins is blessed or cursed? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more forgotten tales from the Golden Age.